At the company's celebration gala, the dashing intern, without seeking permission, swiveled towards Emily, my wife. With a flirtatious grin, he playfully demanded to examine my hearing aid. She let out a light laugh, removed the device, and handed it over. He inspected it, his expression betraying clear disdain, then nonchalantly tossed it onto the floor. I swiftly crouched down to retrieve it, but he accidentally stepped on my hand. The searing pain in my fingers paled in comparison to the heartbreak of watching my hearing aid being crushed under his shoe. When I put the broken aid back on, a surge of fury welled up inside me, and I yearned to confront him. However, Emily suddenly slapped me across the face. "David," she snapped, her voice cutting. "This party is to celebrate Lucas's new software design. Don't cause a scene here." Gazing at the anger in Emily's eyes and the self-satisfied smirk on Lucas's face, I forced a smile. I took off the mangled hearing aid and threw it into the nearby trash bin, then turned and walked away. It had been the most precious gift Emily gave me when we got engaged. But now, both she and the broken device felt like remnants of a life I no longer desired. In full view of everyone, Lucas calmly kicked the hearing aid deeper into the trash and smirked. "Enjoy your party," he said. "I'm heading home." As I walked away, the deafening silence returned to my ears, making me feel isolated and disconnected from the world around me. I noticed Emily looking livid, but I couldn't bring myself to care anymore. Outside the room, I messaged my friend Alex. "I'm quitting my job in a few days and joining your company," I typed. His reply came almost instantly, brimming with excitement. "Great. We can develop software together. There's a huge future here." Alex didn't pry, and I was grateful for that. Back in college, Alex and I were computer science majors, both passionate about coding and software development. We had teamed up for numerous competitions and won several awards. After graduation, he moved to another city to start his own firm, while I stayed behind to marry Emily and work at her family's tech company. Alex's business had thrived, while my career had stagnated. He often told me my talent was being wasted and urged me to join him, but I always declined to stay by Emily's side. But now, Emily had changed beyond recognition, especially since this new intern arrived. Staying no longer made any sense. Back home, I took out a new hearing aid and put it on. My phone buzzed with a message from Lucas. It was a video, and I opened it. The dimly lit scene showed they were in a karaoke room. Emily held a microphone and looked at the camera with adoration. "This song is for Lucas, who's so talented," she said before starting to sing. Her voice was enchanting, but my heart sank. Although Emily often sang off-key, it was clear she had practiced this song for a long time, yet it used to be for me. Since childhood, I'd lost most of my hearing, but Emily would sweetly sing in my ear so I could hear her clearly. Her smile back then was warm and bright as she said, "David, I learned this song just for you. I'll only sing it for you." At that moment, something inside me shattered. I once loved her deeply, but now she was singing that song for Lucas, breaking a promise she had made to me. I closed the video with a bitter smile and looked around the room, which felt cold and empty. I opened the closet and began packing a suitcase. Emily didn't return home until nearly 1 a.m. She looked furious when she saw me calmly watching TV on the couch. "I texted you to come pick me up. Why didn't you?" she scolded. Usually, I'd go downstairs to fetch her when she was out late at social events. But this time, I couldn't bring myself to rush to her side. I picked up my phone. Our chat history was filled with my messages, and she had barely replied. Her last message was a curt, "Be home soon." Looking at her, I replied emotionlessly, "I didn't see your message." She strode over and continued berating me. "David, what's wrong with you? Lucas is younger. You need to cut him some slack. He just accidentally stepped on your hearing aid, and you made such a big deal out of it. Did you even think about my feelings?" I listened in silence, my gaze falling on a hickey on her neck. Seeing my look, Emily faltered and clumsily covered it with her collar, but she maintained her harsh tone. "Me slapping you is a lesson. Don't act like this again. Be more understanding towards Lucas." I nodded, not wanting to argue. "I get it. I'm tired. I'm going to rest," I said, then headed to the bedroom. Emily's face soured, and she scoffed as I walked away. Lying in bed, I closed my eyes, but my mind raced. "Just accidentally stepped on your hearing aid," she had said. But it was the precious gift she gave me when we first got together, and I had always cherished it carefully. Despite its age, it had worked perfectly. Back then, she had happily placed the hearing aid on me, and the world had become clear. I had heard her sweet voice say, "David, I like you." It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. Yet Emily had casually dismissed it after Lucas crushed it, seemingly forgetting its significance to me. In the living room, I could hear Emily laughing sweetly as she sent voice messages. Then a new notification sounded on her phone. It was a message from Lucas. It was a screenshot of their chat. They were chatting animatedly, ending with her sending a loving goodnight. Lucas's message followed shortly after. "David, you and Emily should rest early. I won't bother you." It felt like a taunt. I closed my eyes, ignoring it. After finishing her skincare routine, Emily went to another bedroom. Ever since Lucas joined the company, Emily had grown close to him and stopped sleeping beside me. My love for Emily seemed to be fading away bit by bit. The next day, after getting up, I wrote a resignation letter. Then I went to the best law firm in the city to hire a lawyer to draft a divorce agreement. Only then did I head to the office to continue with my work. I found Emily at Lucas's desk, their heads bent closely together, engaged in an intimate discussion. Strangely, seeing them like this now didn't pain me as much as it once would have. Lucas noticed me and greeted me. "David, you're late today. You don't look well. Didn't sleep well last night." There was a hint of provocation and arrogance in his eyes as he leaned closer to Emily. He's been with the company long enough that he thinks he doesn't have to follow the rules. At this rate, he won't last here much longer, I thought. Before I could respond, Emily frowned and started criticizing me. I gave a faint smile, looked at the two of them, and calmly said, "I'll pay more attention in the future. Thanks for the reminder, boss." Emily's face darkened at my reply. I rarely called her boss, but now my tone was polite and distant. Ignoring them, I sat at my workstation and immersed myself in my work. I was wrapping up my last project, and even though I was leaving soon, my sense of responsibility drove me to finish it. During lunch, Emily pulled up her car in front of the company, and Lucas eagerly hopped into the passenger seat. When I walked by, Lucas called out, "David, Emily, and I are going to the Italian restaurant. Join us." Despite his words, it was clear he had no intention of giving up the passenger seat. I shook my head, smiled, and said, "I'm not a fan of Italian food. You guys go ahead." I strode away without a backward glance. Emily's voice drifted faintly behind me. "His mood has been abysmal lately. Just ignore him and let's go eat." A bitter smile tugged at my lips as I banished them from my thoughts. While having my solitary lunch, I idly scrolled through social media and stumbled upon a post by Lucas. "When the boss finds out you smoke, she gives you this high and lighter. Best boss ever. I'll work for her till the end of time." The caption read. My eyebrows shot up at the image he'd shared. There on the table lay an elegant lighter, and in the background, the remnants of an Italian meal were clearly visible. A corner of the photo even showed a glimpse of Emily's slender fingers. Back when Emily and I were dating, I had a habit of smoking when stressed. She would always pluck the cigarette from my hand, take a puff, and end up coughing with tears streaming down her face. I'd immediately stub it out and soothe her, patting her back. With tear-filled eyes, she'd pout and say, half joking, half annoyed, "David, I can't stand this smell. If I catch you smoking again, I'll do it myself just to make you worry." Her small fists and adorable expression were impossible to resist, and I'd always give in and quit for her. But ever since Lucas entered the picture, Emily's attitude towards me had done a complete 180. Now, when she caught me smoking, she'd scold me with nothing but revulsion. Yet here she was, gifting a lighter to Lucas. I shook my head and put my phone away, a heavy feeling settling in my chest. After work, I returned home to find a tailored suit Emily had ordered for me. She'd always loved styling both of us. Since we got married, every piece of clothing in my wardrobe was hand-picked by her. Whenever I tried on something new, her eyes would light up, and she'd twirl around me, showering me with compliments about how well I filled out the clothes. Then, she'd leap into my arms and plant a kiss on my cheek. She always said I looked most handsome in suits, so each season, she'd order the latest styles and have them delivered home. Remembering those moments stirred a bittersweet ache inside me. I tried on the suit, only to find it didn't fit at all. Emily knew my measurements like the back of her hand, and after all these years of ordering clothes, the store shouldn't have made such an error. I took off the ill-fitting suit, packed it back in the bag, and drove to the store. There, I unexpectedly ran into Emily and Lucas. "Lucas, you look dashing in that suit," Emily exclaimed. "I've set up an account for you here. Come by whenever you like. It's on me." I glanced over at them. Lucas stood tall, decked out in the season's trendiest suit, while Emily gazed at him with a rosy, cheeked smile, their interaction oozing with intimacy. "Mr. David, what brings you here?" a store clerk called out, her voice loud enough to draw Emily and Lucas's attention. They quickly separated and turned towards me. Emily's face darkened with anger as she stomped over. "David, what are you doing here? Were you following me? How dare you?" I regarded her calmly, then turned my gaze to Lucas behind her. I sized him up from head to toe and let out a dry laugh. I finally understood why the suit didn't fit. Emily had mixed up my measurements with his. "The suit you ordered doesn't fit, so I'm here to return it," I said, swinging the garment bag in front of her. "I have other things to attend to. I won't disturb you two any longer." I turned to leave, and I could feel Emily's glare boring into my back as a storm of emotions played across her face. "David, don't be ridiculous. There's nothing going on between Lucas and me. Don't misjudge us," she shouted. I just shrugged. I didn't say anything. No need to get so defensive. That evening, to my surprise, Emily entered my room after her shower. She wore a sheer nightgown that clung to her curves, her dark curls spilling over her shoulders, and the familiar scent of her perfume filled the air. She climbed onto the bed and wrapped her arms around me from behind. "David, don't misunderstand these past few days. There's really nothing between Lucas and me. He's just incredibly talented, and I'm nurturing his skills. I've been a bit distant, but it's been so long since." "David, turn around and hold me," she purred. I felt a pang of weakness. It was a lie to say I didn't love her. During the darkest days of my teenage years after losing my hearing, she'd been my guiding light, showering me with warmth and love. 10 years together meant the world to me. Unable to resist, I turned and pulled her into a passionate kiss. As the moment heated up and I reached to remove my hearing aid, her phone rang. A sense of foreboding washed over me. She answered the call, and after a brief conversation, she pushed me away and jumped up, looking worried. "David, Lucas seems to have a fever, and he's not feeling well. I need to go check on him." She slipped on her shoes and rushed out without a second glance. I sat alone on the bed, listening to the door open and close. The silence was deafening, and I could feel the last remnants of her presence fade away. My phone buzzed with a message from Lucas. "David, I'm feeling terrible. Please ask Emily to come see me. Don't be mad, okay?" I stared at the screen, a hollow laugh escaping my lips. Lucas had won. Emily didn't come back until the next morning. She offered me an apology, but I just nodded calmly, my heart already numb. I packed my bags, booked a flight to the city where Alex lived for the next day, put the final touches on my work project, and submitted my resignation. I took a cab to the cemetery and sat by my grandmother's grave. As I thought about leaving this city behind, I felt an unexpected sense of peace. Maybe I'd been hurt one too many times, and now I was beyond feeling pain. Leaning against the tombstone, I talked to my grandmother, watching the clouds drift by until night fell, and then I headed home. When I opened the door, I was greeted by a scene of unexpected celebration. Balloons and streamers decorated the room, flowers and presents were scattered everywhere, and a happy birthday banner hung on the wall. I stood there stunned. "David, you're back?" "Today's my birthday," Lucas announced with a smug grin, gesturing towards the dining table. I followed his gaze and saw a feast laid out. Emily said she wanted to show off her cooking. "She's so sweet." "I'm jealous," he said, his voice dripping with satisfaction. I forced a smile, uninterested in his theatrics, and turned to head to my room. But something in the corner caught my eye, making me freeze. Noticing my reaction, Lucas laughed nonchalantly. "Oh, that? I accidentally knocked it over while decorating. Emily said she'd clean it up later. I'm such a klutz. Don't be mad, okay?" On the floor lay the shattered frame of a photo of my grandmother, her smiling face marred by dirty footprints. A white, hot rage surged through me, and without thinking, I swung at him. My vision went red with anger as I pummeled him, each punch accompanied by his grunts. But his lips curled into a smirk, as if he'd planned this. "David, stop it." Emily rushed out of the kitchen, screaming. She slapped me hard and pushed me away, rushing to Lucas's side to help him up. My eyes burned with rage as I glared at them, bloodshot and seething. "It's just a picture. No need to lose your mind," Lucas sneered. "Look what you did to him. Are you just jealous because you're deaf and can't stand seeing normal people happy? What's your problem?" Emily's shrill voice cut through the air as she helped the limping Lucas out of the door. A sharp pang shot through my chest, and I felt a lump form in my throat. Trembling, I crouched down and gently picked up the shattered photo of my grandmother. I carefully wiped away the dirt with my sleeve and placed it in my suitcase. Emily didn't return that night, and I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts. Before leaving the apartment for good, I took one last lingering look around. I placed the divorce papers neatly on the table, a final statement of my decision. I was done being the third wheel in Emily and Lucas's twisted game. I sent Emily a single word via message, "divorce," then blocked and deleted both her and Lucas's contacts. On the plane, exhaustion finally overtook me, and I drifted into a dreamless sleep. When I landed, Alex was already there, waiting for me with a warm, understanding smile. He wordlessly took my suitcase, giving my shoulder a reassuring pat. "We used to be an unstoppable team. I'm glad you're here," he said, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope. Alex helped me settle in and then introduced me to the company, showing me the ropes. I joined a software development project and threw myself into the work. As I delved into lines of code, I rediscovered the joy and freedom I had once known. My ideas flowed freely, and after suggesting some innovative improvements, my colleagues began to look at me with newfound respect. "No wonder Mr. Alex was so eager to hire you. You're amazing," one of them exclaimed, and I felt a sense of pride swelling within me. When the project was completed, the client was extremely satisfied, and Alex rewarded us with a generous bonus. He took the team out for a celebratory dinner, and I found myself in the spotlight, praised and admired. Gone were the days of public humiliation. As we left the restaurant, the cool evening breeze blew away the remnants of the alcohol-induced haze. Suddenly, a familiar, angry voice pierced the air. "David, so this is where you've been hiding. What's all this nonsense?" Emily rushed towards me, looking haggard and furious. "Come back with me. You can't just run away like this. You're such a headache." She grabbed my arm, trying to pull me along. I shook her off forcefully and stared at her coldly. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "Emily, it's over. Let's get a divorce. The papers are on the table. I'm sure you've seen them," I said icily. Her face went pale, and she stammered, "Divorce?" "But," I simply nodded, not a trace of warmth in my expression. Just then, my ride pulled up. I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there, speechless. To my surprise, she followed me into the car, still in a daze. When we reached my place, she tried to come inside, but I blocked the door. "Go sign the divorce papers. We're done," I said firmly. Her face crumpled, and she pleaded, "No, I'm not leaving. I'm not divorcing you, David. Let me in, or I'll sit here all night." Back when we were dating, her pouty face would have melted my heart in an instant. But now, looking at her tear-streaked face, I felt nothing but emptiness. "Do as you please," I said, closing the door on her desperate gaze. The next morning, as I stepped out, I found her curled up in the corner, her eyes bloodshot from a sleepless night. "David, I've thought about it. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have gotten so close to Lucas and ignored your feelings. I'll keep my distance from now on. Please, come back with me," she begged, her voice hoarse with desperation. I just shook my head. "There's no going back," I said, and walked away. One day, as I was deeply engrossed in coding, Alex approached me with a troubled expression. "David, Emily is at the front desk, making a scene and asking for you. You should go deal with it." I sighed and headed to the front. I had hoped she would give up after I rejected her at work, but I underestimated her persistence. When I got home from work that day, Emily was there, a bright smile on her face. "David, you're back? I went to the grocery store and bought all your favorite ingredients. I'm going to make you a delicious dinner tonight." She held up several bags, her nose dotted with sweat and her cheeks flushed. For a brief moment, it felt like old times, but then reality came crashing back. I shook my head. "You don't have to do this." But she wouldn't take no for an answer. She pushed past me and rushed into the kitchen, bustling around as she prepared the meal. Soon, the table was filled with mouth-watering dishes, just like the old days. Try it, David, she said, her eyes shining with hope. Before I could respond, her phone rang. The look on her face told me everything I needed to know. Just then, the doorbell rang. I got up to open the door, and in a flash, I was pushed hard. Lucas burst in, yelling, "David, just divorce Emily already. Stop leading her on. We all know what you're up to." Emily rushed to my side, but I pushed her away. I stared Lucas down. "How did you know where I live?" I demanded. He smirked. "Emily and I have location sharing on. I'm not like you, always in the dark." Emily snapped at him. "Lucas, stop it." But her words rang hollow. I smiled bitterly. Any lingering doubts I had vanished. "I'm done fighting over Emily. Once she signs the divorce papers, we're through," I said, my voice cold and final. My eyes coldly, I issued a clear command. "Now leave my house." The atmosphere turned frigid in an instant. Lucas sneered mockingly. "Smart move. Quit while you can." Before he could continue his taunts, a sharp slap echoed through the air, halting his words mid-sentence. He stared at Emily in shock, exclaiming, "Why are you interfering?" Emily's voice was like ice, cutting through the tension. Lucas's eyes blazed with frustration and resentment, but I paid him no mind, firmly escorting them both out the door. Once they were gone, I turned around and unceremoniously dumped the meal Emily had prepared into the trash. Faintly, I could hear their argument continuing outside, but it no longer mattered to me. Just then, my phone rang. It was a former colleague. "David, there's a bug in the project we worked on, and we can't figure it out. Sarah's not here, and Lucas is nowhere to be found. The clients are breathing down our necks." "I'm really in a bind," he pleaded. I smirked. I knew the project had flaws. Lucas had stolen credit for my work, and the team was aware but remained silent. Now they expected me to clean up their mess. "Sorry, I'm busy. Find someone else," I replied curtly. I wondered how Emily would react if she discovered the truth about Lucas, but it was no longer my concern. The next morning, I found Emily waiting downstairs. "David, I brought you breakfast," she said, her voice filled with eagerness. I took the food and tossed it straight into the trash in front of her. "Don't bother next time," I said, adding, "Seems like your company's in trouble." I walked away, leaving her standing there, stunned. Her affection, once so intense, had faded away, just like our relationship. I had envisioned growing old together, but she couldn't resist the allure of something new. Too many disappointments had eroded the love we once shared. The sky grew overcast, and soon it started to rain. Emily stubbornly stood in the downpour, waiting for me. I averted my gaze. Then, I received a call from an unknown number. "David, can you bring me an umbrella?" It was Emily. I looked at her small figure in the rain and sighed. "Go home. Don't be silly," I said simply. She remained there, hoping I would change my mind, but my heart felt empty. As the rain grew heavier, I looked again, and she was gone. Later that afternoon, I received an unexpected call. "Mr. David, your wife is in the hospital. Please come." I gritted my teeth, grabbed the divorce papers, and rushed to the hospital. Emily had fainted in the rain and was brought in by a kind passerby. She had a fever, and her face was flushed as she lay in the hospital bed. "David, I knew you'd come," she said weakly when she saw me. Before I could respond, Lucas burst into the room. "Emily, I'm here," he exclaimed, then turned on me, furious. "You just won't leave Emily alone, will you?" he shouted, swinging a punch at me. I took the hit, grunting in pain. "Lucas, stop!" Emily cried out urgently. I wiped the blood from my lip and placed the divorce papers on the bed. "Sign it, Emily," in front of him. "Let's end this," I said firmly. I didn't want any more animosity. My mind was made up. Emily turned pale, realizing I was serious. With trembling hands, she signed her name on the papers. "Congrats. You finally got rid of that loser," Lucas cheered. But Emily closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. As I left the room, I heard Emily say, "Lucas, you're fired." Exhausted, I returned home, still clutching the divorce papers. 10 years with Emily had finally come to an end. I deleted all our photos from my phone, erasing years of memories in an instant. Alex invited me out for drinks, and in a haze of alcohol, I bid farewell to that chapter of my life. Emily left the city, and I began a new journey. Alex constantly tried to set me up on blind dates, hoping I would move on quickly, but I politely declined with a smile. For now, I preferred to be alone. One day after work, as I parked my car in the basement garage, someone suddenly punched me. "David, what did you do to Emily?" She not only fired me, but also canceled all the cards she gave me. I'm a recent grad with no money, and now I'm drowning in debt. The company is holding me responsible. You've ruined my future. Lucas's enraged voice echoed in the garage. I suppressed the pain and clenched my fist. I remembered the first time I fought because of Emily. Back then, I was often bullied due to my hearing loss and had to fight to protect myself. Emily used to quietly treat my wounds. Now, even though we were no longer together, the thought of what he'd done to our relationship fueled my anger, and I fought back. We were eventually pulled apart and taken to the police station. After giving our statements and receiving a lecture, we were released. Emily rushed from another city. She looked exhausted and stole a silent glance at me. We had once been so close, but now we were like strangers. "Lucas, don't ever come near me again." I glared at him, and for the first time, fear flashed across his face. "David, you..." Emily began hesitantly. "Let's stick to formalities," I replied coldly. Looking at her, I felt a strange sense of peace. From now on, we had no connection. With that, I turned and walked away without a second thought. The road ahead was long, but I knew Emily would no longer be a part of my life. The first time I saw David, I was skipping class and hiding in the sports equipment room. He was sitting in a dim corner, his head bowed, his hair obscuring his face. His presence startled me. I approached and gently patted his shoulder. When he looked up, I was captivated by his eyes, the most beautiful I had ever seen. I asked his name, and he pointed to his ear and shook his head. I quickly found some paper and a pen and handed them to him. Despite the bruises on his face, he smiled, and I was smitten. He wrote, "David," in elegant handwriting. I learned he was the top student in our grade, lived with his grandmother, had lost most of his hearing due to an illness, and was a man of few words. He was cold to others because of the bullying he endured, and I was no exception. But I didn't give up. I made him breakfast, sang to him, and slowly, he began to open up. The day we got together, I gave him a hearing aid and confessed my love. I saw tears in his eyes, and then he hugged me tightly, crying into my shoulder. I thought our love would last forever. After graduation, he joined my family's company for me, and we got married. When his grandmother passed away, I was by his side. He held me close and said I was the most important person in his life. But as the years went by, the routine of our life made me feel bored. Then Lucas came along. He was young, vibrant, and charming, always making me laugh. He was also good at work, and I gradually grew closer to him, pushing David away. David became even more silent, sometimes looking at me in a way I couldn't understand. But after 10 years, I was convinced he would never leave. At the celebration party, I slapped him for Lucas. I didn't realize until much later that the hearing aid he threw away was the first one I gave him, something he cherished deeply. That's when he decided to leave. I kept denying it, thinking his love for me was unbreakable. I suppressed him, favored Lucas, and the more distant David became, the angrier I got. Finally, he left, and when I tried to win him back, it was too late. His eyes, once filled with love for me, were now cold and distant. I made a terrible mistake, and there was no way to fix it. David stood by me for 10 years, and now he wouldn't even look at me. Those memories were gone, and I knew that in the years to come, without David, I would always feel a sense of emptiness.